Hey everybody, welcome to Yeah Buddy. So you want to start a nonprofit organization? You want to start a nonprofit organization? I'm going to give you the 5 steps that you need to do. 5 simple steps. 5 steps that you need to do to start your nonprofit today. So you may be asking yourself, why are you taking advice from a guy who looks like he's trying out for the Minnesota all-hair hockey team? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because I've started nonprofits before, and I've consulted others in starting their nonprofits. Step number 1. You're going to want to incorporate your business in the state in which you reside, or the state in which your business will primarily operate. Now, I say business because while you are establishing or incorporating, in the end, a nonprofit organization, the nonprofit is simply a legal designation for your tax filing status. And that's where a lot of people get tripped up. You still are a business. It's just one that has nonprofit status for the purposes of filing your federal taxes. Now, I would recommend, if you have any questions or if you're not confident in doing any of this yourself, that you seek legal advice or you seek the advice of a certified public accountant. So that's step number 1. Incorporating your business or your nonprofit organization in the state in which you reside or the state in which your nonprofit will primarily do business in. Step number 2. You're going to want to get an employer identification number for your business. So that is filed through the IRS's website, but the employer identification number is the next step in your journey. It's very simple to file for, but you will need it. It will go very quickly. I think you might be able to file it overnight. Very simple. As I mentioned before, I do recommend that you do all of these in the same order. Step number 3, you file for nonprofit status with the IRS. Some people just call it 501c3 status. However, there are a few other designations of the tax code which would allow an organization to be a nonprofit organization. 501c3 is the most common, which is why you hear it all the time for a nonprofit organization. So for the purposes of this video, we'll call it a nonprofit organization, or we'll call it a 501c3. In any event, you will need to have 501c3 status with the federal government in order to be officially classified as a 501c3 or nonprofit organization. So now you're incorporated. You have an EIN, and the IRS, after you shelling out a little bit of money, has provided you with 501c3 designation. Make sure that you hang on to every piece of paperwork that the respective government entities give you. File it away, both in hard copy and digitally. And what you're going to want to do for step number 4 is gather all of that information, bring it on down to your bank of choice, your deposit-taking organization, and establish a bank account for your nonprofit organization. Your nonprofit is not going to operate on favors alone. You're going to need to take in deposits. You're going to need to take in sales. You're going to need to take in money from whatever widgets you may be selling to fund your charitable organization. But you're going to need money, and you're going to need a legitimate bank account, because donors are not going to want to write you a check personally to you. And that also starts to skirt the line between potential ethics violation, as any checks that are going directly to you as an individual, cycling through your bank account and out through the operations of an organization. You're going to want to legitimize your nonprofit organization with its own bank account under the nonprofit's name. In any event, you're not going to want to solicit donations from anybody and say, donate to Yeah Buddy's personal bank account. No. Not at all. You're going to want to say, donate to insert nonprofit organization's name here, as well as Here's our employer identification number because we are a 501c3, and you may receive a tax deduction based on this donation after consulting with your certified public accountant. Okay, so we have number one. You've registered with your Department of State or Department of Commerce. Anyway, you're a legitimized business. Number two, you have an employer identification number. Number three, you have nonprofit status under the federal government. Number four, you have a bank account and you can start accepting money on behalf of the organization. And you can provide your donors with a letter from the organization showing how much they donated with the employer identification number, and that it is a tax deductible donation. So number five, you need to get out there on social media. And you need to do that by establishing your respective accounts, just like you do for YouTube. I would suggest to start. Easy enough, Instagram. Easy enough, Facebook. Too easy, right? For those of you that use Twitter, go ahead and do that. But number four, and this one's a little bit more of a leap, maybe this is the next video for me, is how to start a website. There's a couple routes that you can go. It all depends on your personal situation, but that's a whole nother trail end of videos that we could produce on, what type of website is going to be best for your nonprofit organization. Is it going to be managed by you? Is it going to be a WordPress? Is it going to be a Wix? Is it going to be managed by somebody else? So there's a lot of different routes that you can take with respect to websites, and all of them are highly dependent on the needs of your organization, as well as probably the income, because that's the big one. You will have to be persistent when you're setting up a nonprofit or any other sort of business. You're going to run into a lot of speed bumps along the way. You're going to run into government snags. You're going to run into different sort of problems, and the only one that's going to sort those out is you. You are going to sort those out unless you have an amazing team behind you that can help you sort it out, or an army of lawyers or something like that. But you're going to have to be persistent. You're going to have to hustle, and you're going to have to push the buttons that you need to push in order to get your organization started. But I have faith in you. So please, again, take a moment to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos about nonprofit organizations or any of the other how-to videos that I've been up to. So let's go. Hope you've had a great time. Yeah, buddy. And there's one more, we'll call it a pre-step, a step zero, that generally you're just going to want to be aware of if this nonprofit is not your full-time job, is that you're going to want to check with your employer to make sure that they're okay with you starting a nonprofit organization. A lot of employers have ethics rules about you starting a business, and you're going to want to be cognizant of those rules and seek the necessary approvals before you go ahead and embark on your journey.